Yo, okay, psionics. When I say that, what do you think? Well, I've got a clip from Ross Coulthart today that we're going to break down because it is quite interesting. I've actually got a couple of clips from Ross Coulthart that we're going to be checking out. He is an investigative journalist who has a show on News Nation and a podcast with Bryce Zabel called Need to Know. And he covers the UFO field quite extensively, and his comments are quite intriguing and require a little commentary on my part, just asking questions, right? And I've also got a clip from Michael Herrera, who we're going to be playing. He's one of Dr. Stephen Greer's whistleblowers who came out in 2023 and has since made some wild claims that we're going to take a look at. Not the ones you're used to from him. Now, stay tuned till the end because I have a clip that is from a story that is absolutely mind-blowing, and that will be my video for tomorrow. So you're going to want to see that because it might just prove that we're in a simulation. Now, let's get to today's main story. All right, let's start off with this clip from Ross Coulthart from his Need to Know podcast. It's quick, but it's quite telling.
We are told are drones over sensitive, super sensitive military facilities. It sounds like nothing at the moment, but I wager it's going to turn out to be enormous.
Which
Can't
is
say
sort
any
of
more right now.
It's a way of pivoting from 2024 to 25 because this seems to be ongoing.
I think 2024 in future will be seen, ironically, as the calm before the storm.
Wow.
I think very early in 2025, all hell is going to break loose.
Holy smokes, all hell is going to break loose. Well, we've heard that many times before, right? They actually said this last year in 2023. At the end, I remember there was all this 2024. This is going to be the, disclosure that's coming. I'll be honest, I'm not really a fan of these type of comments, but to each their own. I'm not judging them. I'm just saying, me personally, I'm allowed to have my own opinion. Hearing those kind of things is, again, just kicking the can down the road. But what else are you going to say if you're him, I guess, right? I don't know. But look, you decide, right? Let me know in the comments what you think of that. But let's get to the bigger part of the story, which is maybe what he's talking about, right? What is going to be this big change that's coming? Well, I have another clip from Ross that might give us a little indication of what this big thing that's coming in 2025 might just be.
Question for Mr. Coulthart. What is your take on why the NHI do not just reveal themselves? Do you agree with the idea that there is an agreement for delayed or complete non-disclosure? Because if true, I would find that to be somewhat confusing behaviour on behalf of the NHI. I also think that if they were waiting for us to be ready, that maybe we wouldn't be seeing them in our skies or maybe at all. Thanks for the work you do and hoping to hear your thoughts. Okay, Mr. Dark. I think there's a really interesting explanation that I'm beginning to hypothesize. This is only a speculative hypothesis on my part, but it is based on work that I am doing that is increasingly focusing on what I believe is a consciousness connection to the UAP phenomenon. I do think that there is a link between what we call psychic phenomena, telepathy, or psionics, as is the more neutral term that's used by the military and the defense community. I do believe that there is a connection between human psionic abilities, telepathic, psychic abilities, and consciousness, and that the UAP phenomenon is tied into that. And I suspect this is one of the largest reasons for why this is being kept secret and for why the NHI are not overtly showing themselves. And my growing hypothesis, it's just a hypothesis because there's a few things I can't tell you right now that I'm going to be reporting on in coming weeks, and I'm very excited to be bringing you that story. But I do know that the Air Force has been working on psionics for many, many decades. They never stopped investigating the power of the human mind and consciousness ever since the Stargate program and the remote viewing program. I know it's been poo-pooed. I know there's a George Clooney movie based on John Ronson's book called The Men Who Stare at Goats. And I know all the supposed debunkers say it's BS. But I can tell you, it's not BS. I've seen it for myself, and it's real. And in forthcoming weeks, you will see why I say it's real. And I believe the United States Air Force has knowingly deceived Congress, successive presidents, and the American public and the world about what it knows for far too long. It's time for this story to be told.
All right, so psionics, right? Which, look, should we be studying consciousness, the power of the mind? Yeah, I don't think that should ever stop, to be honest with you, because what are we one day going to hit a wall and be like, oh, well, that's it? I don't think so. All right, so yes, of course, we should be studying this, but what we're finding out, I don't know. All right, like, I guess we'll wait and see. Right. What is he going to report on? Right. Because he's telling us it's real. Right. No question about it. He's seen it for himself. So that's interesting. And look, I look forward to the reporting. Let's see what this is about. Right. But I will say that this next part he brings up has me a little worried, because anytime the idea of children, are brought into this, I pause. And I take a step back, because accusations like that absolutely have to come with proof. Otherwise, that's exploitation, and I am not a fan of that. And there's no need to bring children into this topic or this discussion, right? In my opinion. So I have to admit, these next comments by Ross have me a little worried.
Now, coming back to the question from Mr. D'Arc, I think the NHI are showing themselves in our skies to twig our consciousness, to make us humans aware of capabilities that many of us don't even realise we have. And I've seen those capabilities demonstrated in recent months. I know they're real, and I frankly don't give a flying fig what the debunkers or the skeptics or the trolls would say about that. It's real, and they will soon be eating humble pie. The capacity for the human mind to engage externally with some kind of uber consciousness has been speculated about in science. Go and have a look at the work on microtubules. Let's have a look at what modern science is speculating about a quantum connection between the human brain and an external consciousness. That's where we're going in this. So what if UAPs are merely a manifestation of something that is above and around us, a consciousness? Some might call it God. Yeah, I know, this is heavy stuff. But what if the purpose of its engagement with the human race is to slowly twig our awareness and to encourage us to use abilities that we don't even know we have? I'm very interested in hearing from people who were part of the GATE program 20 to 30 years ago, who found themselves in rooms with US Air Force officers and strange psychologists in white lab coats, showing them on occasion strange, apparently non-human objects. Yes, this has been happening. Young kids, prepubertal kids, have been misused in experimentation by our military in experiments designed to develop an understanding of how to engage with the phenomenon, with a consciousness. And I think at the same time that NHI consciousness is trying to engage with humanity individually. I've spoken to so many people. I had a message this morning from one person who's an very senior US Air Force person working in a very sensitive area, who told me that they had psychical abilities and they'd never spoken about it. But when they told me about their sighting of a gigantic craft, I said to them, by any chance, do you have psychic abilities? Have you ever had an intuition or a precognition? And they said they were very moved by my question because they'd never really spoken about it. But yes, they have. And everybody I talk to tells me about intuition, precognition, some kind of second sight, some kind of insight that gives them an ability to understand or engage with things in a way that humans can't quite understand. And I think that's what lies behind our understanding, or our growing understanding of the phenomenon. I think that if these are craft, if they are craft at all, they are a manifestation of a consciousness that is trying to engage with humanity. And I think, interestingly enough, the evidence that I am acquiring suggests that these craft can only be operated by people with those psionic abilities.
Well, I will admit, again, bringing up children, you better know what you're talking about. And I mean the general you. Not specifically at Ross, but if we're going to bring kids into this, I may have to push that to the side, because I am not down for exploiting kids. If I'm being honest, I'm not down for bringing them into the conversation, even if they're a part of it, to be honest with you, right? Now, if they are being mistreated and exploited by our government, that's a bombshell story. That should be front page news, but not for the way, that some people might want, right? We should stop experimenting on kids. I don't care if they have abilities. That is wrong. We shouldn't be doing that. Right. So that's just my opinion, right, when it comes to that. So I hope that they tread carefully bringing kids into this. Again, that's just my opinion. And I'll be honest, if Ross didn't really care what skeptics, debunkers, trolls have to say, why did he put them all together? That's, whatever. If he didn't care, he wouldn't bring them up. So clearly it matters to him to prove the thing. Right? Humble pie, all these things. Why would there be humble pie for people who question this? I think you'd be crazy not to question the validity of this, if I'm being honest. If you just jump into, yeah, that's real, without any proof or evidence, right? What are we talking about? So I hope this is a big game that is being talked right now. So I hope you bring the receipts. Right? I hope Ross brings the receipts and everyone around that's going to report on this. Because if that's the road we're going to go down, you're going to need absolute proof. And if one of the people that Ross is going to bring into this is Michael Herrera, one of Dr. Stephen Greer's whistleblowers, which, in my opinion, I have proved that his story is not true. I've done many videos on him. You can search, just put in vetted Michael Herrera. You'll see all the videos. I have the only interview with Michael Herrera's former team leader, Nathan, on the internet. So you can find that, because I feel that Ross is going to be bringing Michael Herrera into the story. Now, why do I say that? Take a look at this clip, because it starts with Michael Herrera for this psionic asset program, right? I've been covering this. I knew that this was going to come to the forefront. I knew that they slowly fed it out and then would be bringing it to the forefront. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe Ross doesn't bring Michael Herrera into this, but I believe that this is what Ross is talking about.
These people can do some very amazing things with their consciousness.
You mentioned people from South America and others. Do you think there's some sort of genetic lineage or something that's in them that makes this a little bit more adept to this?
Yes, genetically speaking, I'm sure there is. They've kind of more explained it on a genetic level. But I mean, if coming from somebody who's learning about this as much as everybody else is, so I'm having to kind of figure out what they're saying and
piece it together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, somebody who does this for a living day in and day out, they could tell you like the back of their hand on how they screen it or what these people's genetic abilities, or at least how they screen the genetic predispositions for that.
Mike, what kind of numbers are we talking about with these P3 beings? Are we talking 100 a month, thousands a year, 1,000 a year, or how many people are they collecting for this?
From what I understand, because these people, again, are human, right? So they're susceptible to, obviously, the adverse effects that come from operating this machinery, if you will, as well as the drugs that they flood them with. So they're flooding with serotonin and a bunch of other uppers because it also keeps them at a very high consciousness level. It's almost like somebody going through hospice who's dying of cancer. Well, they flood them with these similar drugs and they're feeling good. They don't feel like they're dying. So they partake in these programs because they feel good all the time until the inevitable happens, which is unfortunate. So,
and what is that?
Well, obviously dying from the drug overdoses that they're doing with these uppers.
So there's a shelf life on these human beings.
Yes, there is. So that's why they have to continually keep refreshing the stock, if you will.
And how long is that?
It spans from, I've heard instances where as soon as somebody gets hooked up to this machine, that they either die or some best case goes to a coma. Not everybody has this, but on the earlier stages of when they were refining this project, of hooking people up to this advanced technology.
Is that like after a month, a year? Or?
I don't know the specifics of that. I think it just depends on what the person's threshold is directly.
So they're a disposable item.
Pretty much. That's why they call them assets or P3 assets
right,
or pink assets.
And this equipment, where does it come from originally? I'm talking about the interface between the P3, the ET, and the agent.
Well, I don't know specifically. I'm assuming it is coming from extraterrestrial technologies that actually incorporate into these P3 assets. So it's essentially a device that can control. So if I was to plug something into you and you have the predisposition to hook up to this advanced technology and craft, then I control you, what you're doing, and then you're going to relay the information on how we can utilize that equipment. Either they can turn it into a weapon system, into some sort of other advanced technology, or even reverse engineer craft.
Now, how far advanced is this technology compared to human technology today?
From what I understand, thousands of years. I mean, from what I've personally witnessed, I mean, that is way beyond cutting edge. And I thought,
Is this a form of like consciousness-assisted technology?
Yes. Very advanced, though. Something that, because when people start coming out with consciousness-associated technology or CATs, I mean, that was in the 80s.
Right.
In present day, I'm sure they've refined this well over the years, even coming in contact with probably other methods of how to utilize this.
I'm sorry, but anything you see on Gaia, I would question immediately. Right. Immediately. Because these are the kind of stories that they highlight, these crazy, hard to believe stories. Check out this one from a gentleman named Randy Kramer. Yeah, okay, this is the same show, the same setup, and these are the kind of things that they talk about. It's absolutely bonkers, if you ask me.
Now, let's talk about the 20 and back program. There's not a lot of people out there that understand this. Let's get in the definition of that and how you were involved.
Sure. Well, again, I was deployed at 17 years old for a 20-year tour. So from 17 to 37, did my tour. And then when they bring personnel back to Luna Operations Command, they do what they call a memory wipe, but it's not a wipe, it's a suppression of memory. And they also do something they call an age reversal, but it's not actually an age reversal. They hatch out a clone body that's the same age when you left, and then transfer your entire consciousness into that clone and then stick you back, again, 15 minutes after you left. And so, again, the next morning, I wake up thinking I had a dream that was months and months or years long, and it's just like, well, that was really weird. And then just kind of had to deal with the recovery from that point on. But that's basically it.
Do you know the science, how that works, the shifting of consciousness into another living organism?
Well, since I wasn't awake for the process, I can only tell you what I've been told about the process. My understanding is that not to get too metaphysical, because as I understand, this is a very scientific thing, that our spirit and or consciousness is a quantum fluid dynamic. And being a quantum fluid dynamic means that it can be removed and put from vessel to vessel. So they can take your consciousness and your spirit being out of your body, put it into a temporary vessel, and then put it into another body or an alien even, or another species or whatever. But in this particular case, my understanding is they just put it into a younger clone version of yourself and then send you back so that you don't think anything happened, or that no one's the wiser anyway.
So there you go. All right, guys. Y'all let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget, I talked about a clip at the beginning to show you the video I'm going to make tomorrow. All right. Now, I'm a strong, I wouldn't say believer, but I love the idea of that we're living in a simulation. Anytime I think about a lot of it checks out, it kind of seems very logical. I'm not saying that's what it is, but I do like that theory a lot. And something recently was done, an experiment, taking a particular chemical DMT drug, right, where you could see this mysterious code, right, on a laser. Okay, there's more to it, but basically people have been doing this and testing it and seeing this code in these laser, like it's real, right? And I've been fascinated with it. So I'm going to be diving deeper into that for tomorrow's video. And I have this one clip that I saw that just changed a lot for me, if I'm being honest, because someone I respect very much so tried this and they were shocked by the results. Now, who am I talking about? I'm talking about a gentleman named Chase Hughes. I don't know him personally, but he's a member of this big YouTube channel called The Behavior Panel, right, where they're can read body language, right? They're all behavioral experts, and they give their analysis on different, viral videos on the internet and things, right? And be like, oh, his eye twitched, and he looked to the left, and he must be lying, those type of those type of things, right? And I respect him a lot. He trains military. His background is quite extensive, right? And he went out and made this video of trying it. And I'm going to play you just a short clip to kind of tease you of his reaction to what he saw.
So Chase is, welcome to the family.
It's good to be here. This is so bizarre. So initially I thought it would be lots of just clean, equally, perfectly spaced lines of code, like the way that I was imagining it.
Yeah.
And then looking at it, even I can see it now, some. And none of it makes any sense.
All right, guys, look forward to my video tomorrow. Let's dive into this. Are we in a simulation? I'm going to find out for us. I'm just kidding. All right, y'all. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep.